Hello, welcome to Office Hours FM, episode 101. I am your host, Carrie Dills, and today I have very special guest, Shawn Hesketh of WP101. And you might think, wait, it's episode 101 and WP101. Did we plan this? Of course we planned this. Hey, Shawn, how you doing?
Hey, Carrie, doing great. Thanks for having me on, and congratulations also on hitting your 100th episode milestone. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. Last week was a really fun week. I launched an ebook as well that was sort of a collected wisdom of the past 100 episodes, or technically, I guess, 99 at that point. Excuse me, but it was so much fun to put together. And actually, anybody say this to everyone who's tuning in, if you're subscribed to the newsletter, officehours.fm/subscribe, you should have already received a copy. Email me if you want one and you didn't find it for some reason. And then any new subscribers also get one. So it's free for everyone. Excuse me. I'm verklempt. Shawn, you kind of had that effect on me. Don't tell Kay. So for those of you tuning in, listening live, thank you so much. Your questions are welcome. You can do that on Twitter using the hashtag OfficeFM, or if you're watching over on Google+, you can do a Google Q&A, where I see there's already a question from Todd saying that I have a blurry face. That's because I haven't had coffee today, so my face is blurry. That's a bad joke, but I'll try that one again. At any rate, so hey, Shawn, you are down in Houston, Texas. And
that's right.
We were chatting a little bit before the show, and sounds like you have dried out from all those rains over there. Mostly dried out.
Mostly we have. Yeah, Houston was definitely hard hit. I appreciate you asking about that and thinking about us. Most of our friends stayed high and dry, but much of the city is still underwater. So we're doing what we can to try to help people dry out best as possible, and then we'll start assessing damage. But Houston definitely got hammered by these recent floods. So yeah, so
it would be a good time to have a ski-doo, or what are the wave runner?
It would have been, absolutely, it would have been.
I've seen photos like on the news and stuff of boats in the streets, like actually,
canoes and anything that would float. Yeah, people had pool floats and all kinds of crazy stuff going on.
That's nuts.
Yeah,
that's nuts. Well, glad you're safe and glad you're dry. Let's get cracking here. For folks that have not had the pleasure of meeting you either online or in person, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, you bet. Well, my background is in freelance graphic design, actually. Started as a graphic designer fresh out of high school, designing logos and brochures and whatnot. And then over time, my projects began to get a little bit larger. Clients got more substantive. And so I kind of expanded my offerings, and of course was when the World Wide Web became a thing, I started designing web pages and taught myself how to do that. So dove in with both feet, became a web designer, and back in the early days was using all the great tools. Like initially, I think I was using one called PageMill. That was a WYSIWYG, very designer friendly. It was kind of a more similar to print layout tools that I was used to. But let me design web pages. Then from that went on to Dreamweaver and some other stuff. So I was designing web pages for years. Was happy to have discovered WordPress, I guess in about 2006 or so, and started designing WordPress powered websites for my clients. And then when I would go to hand the keys off to them so they could manage their awesome WordPress powered website, I would often do in office or in person one-on-one WordPress training. And so after doing that a couple dozen times, I thought, man, this is for the birds. I got to record a series of videos so I can hand this off to my clients. And, it was I'm saying that kind of half joking. It actually was a lot of fun. I really did enjoy the training, but, it had some inherent problems because obviously clients would comment that it was like drinking from a fire hose, just so much information to take in on how to use a WordPress website, how to create their content, how to manage content. So they actually said, what happens if you leave and I forget everything we've talked about? So that's where I first arrived at the idea to create a series of WordPress tutorial videos, initially just for my clients. And so then I was talking to some friends of mine who are also WordPress developers and said, man, I need that for my clients as well. So you build that as a membership site, I'll send my customers your way and you can train them on WordPress basics. So that was 2008. We launched as a membership site, and now today we're continuing. We've kept up with every single release of WordPress since then, so that we've now on like 18 different cycles, I think, when we've re-recorded and updated that original set of videos to keep pace with all the changes in WordPress. And today we have the membership site, but we also have a plugin, and then we have licensing partners who license our videos to put on their own website. So we're continuing to provide WordPress training videos and more, kind of reaching out to other things that WordPress beginners might need to know to be able to manage their WordPress sites. That's what we're doing.
Very cool. And I've been a customer of yours for a while because, yeah, it's brilliant. I can have my clients watch your videos and I don't have to go through all that myself, and it's repeatable. So it's interesting. I hadn't heard all the backstory on that, but it's interesting that the birth of WP101 plugin, or even the product, was a result of you're trying to find a better solution for something that you are already doing or doing repetitively in your client work. So yeah, it's a little bit on the productized side of things, I guess. Backing up a little to the very beginning of your story.
Yeah.
Graduated high school, started straight into work. How did you get those initial clients?
I always had an interest in drawing and in graphic design and knew I wanted to be a graphic designer, but I'm the oldest of 7 kids in my family. So there was not money for art school. And so I knew if I was going to make anything happen, I just needed to throw myself into it. So I actually went down to the local art college, the Art Institute of Houston, and I actually bought the books off the shelf from their bookstore for year 1 graphic design. And so that's where I just threw myself in and started learning, and it's where I learned all the cool things about typography and layout and Gestalt theory and rule of thirds and all those cool things, and kind of never stopped. So we have an informal hashtag or slogan, which is never stop learning, and that's really more my personal mantra more than anything. So yeah, I threw myself into learning graphic design for the purpose of designing logos and T-shirts and brochures for clients. And like I mentioned, over the years, the clients got a little more substantive, the projects got a little larger. And when I realized, it ended up being almost 26 years before I officially tabled that, just a couple of years ago, in fact. Over 26 years, what I realized is that I didn't do business the way most freelance graphic designers did. So I wasn't just in it for a one-off. And what I found is I most enjoyed getting into the trenches with a business owner, a small business owner, and asking them questions about why they started their business and how they serve their customers and how they do that better and differently than everyone else. Kind of what are the things that differentiate you from everybody else? And as we had those conversations, and sometimes I realized that these business owners were maybe being asked some of these questions for the first time, right? Like there may have been a product that they started in their garage and kind of grew, and over time they, now they found themselves with customers and a product, and they're busy head down doing business, but haven't really gone back to articulate their why, to use Simon Sinek's phrase, right? So why are you doing this? And I would often ask those questions. And what I found is once we'd had the deep conversations about the origins of the business and what this business owner is about and how they want to better connect with their audience, well, it made more sense to not just leverage all that information in the creation of a logo or a brochure or a one-off project, but rather in a whole host of materials. So I was actually most effective when I could dive in, often over 3 to 6 months or even a year, working with the same customer or a group of customers, and creating all their materials. So it would be everything from a logo and the branding strategy for that, social media strategy, the web design, and all these things. So it's really I rapidly scaled into more agency scale work, right? But as a one-man shop. And so I really enjoyed that. And I realized that that's really the commonality between that and WP101 today, is that I still enjoy getting in the trenches with people and helping them get from point A to point B, connect with their audience better, and learn how to use the tools that are available to do that. So yeah, little origin story.
I love that you mentioned the Simon Sinek book, the Start With Why. I just recently finished that, and I was Chris Limo was on the podcast a few episodes ago, and we were chatting about the book, but he brought up the exact same thing that you're talking about, really understanding what it is that what the problem is the client is trying to solve, and just making the point that is for those of us that are, left brainers, or is it right brain? Which one is the not creative side?
Yeah,
okay, you confuse me with your left lane and your right brain. So
that's right.
But yeah, that immediately kind of jump to how we can solve a particular problem or create a solution, but we just take it at face value what a client brings without really asking why and making sure that we understand the root of the problem, because it may not be what they come to us with initially.
Yeah, I was often accused of being as left-brained as right-brained because I really enjoyed the strategic part of that process, right? Client communications. And if there's one thing I think that I took away from all of that, it was the value of just crystal clear communications with your client, right? Like setting up expectations in the very beginning. And these are kind of more left brain sensibilities, but they freed me up to do the right brain creative work later and be more effective at that. But one of the, this is wild to me still today, but one of the most consistent pieces of feedback that I would get from my clients is that the thing they most enjoyed about working with me was that they always knew where they were in every step of the project. So I actually created this very simple tool that's almost embarrassing. It would be embarrassing for anybody to see it today. It was just a one-page outline of the entire project, and each milestone in the project, and next to it an ETA, like what date that's going to be due. And we had a checklist for materials I might have needed from the client. So they always knew by looking at this page, whether they were waiting on me or I was waiting on them. And it's wild that a tool as simple as that would get customers raving and coming back. And yet today, I find myself kind of on the other end of that as a product guy. I'm hiring, developers and designers to do work for me. And I'm amazed how few people actually do that. And so I'm finding myself asking them, well, where are we? Are you waiting on me or am I waiting on you? What is our ETA? Are you going to take 2 weeks on this project or is it going to take a month? And I have no idea because you're not communicating that up front. So yeah, I think it's as important to focus on those kind of left brain things and be strategic about what you do, especially how you communicate with your clients. And that was always something that set me apart from competition.
And that's not embarrassing at all. That's a really awesome little list to have. I don't think it's overly simplistic. I think it's basically you can take all of your other discussions and communications and summarize them in that one sheeter and have a common reference point. That's awesome.
Somebody create a plugin for this.
There's somebody listening that has that skill set. I guarantee it.
Cannot be that hard. It really was just the most simple. The thing I'd be embarrassed of is to show it to you how simple and basic it was, but it just is an outline, right? And that was incredibly effective. And I just think that that's really important. I think it's important for people to know where they are in the process at all times. And the more that you arm your customers and your clients with that information, the better client they're going to be for you. In other words, you're going to be able to work together more effectively, right? But it also keeps them coming back to you again and again. So yeah, there's my tip of the day.
Well, we can end the show here or we can keep going if you've still got the time blocked out. So, okay, this is really random and only has to do with the left brain, right brain thing. But have you ever heard cross your fingers together like this?
Yeah. And then what? I got it.
And which thumb is on top, your lefty or your righty?
My righty.
Interesting. See, I've heard it said that whichever thumb is on top is whatever your dominant side of the brain. It's probably complete hogwash and something we just did in elementary school to amuse ourselves, but there you go. If you're listening, you can try the hand test and see if it's how accurate it is. And
play along at home.
Yes, this is the interactive part of the podcast. So you've kept up with the growth of WordPress along the way throughout all of these revisions. Was that not a problem, but when you first created WP101 as the solution to client training, did you already anticipate the need to keep those updated? Like, were you accounting for that in your mind?
I did consider it early on because when I did a preliminary search thinking surely someone else has already done this, right? Somebody else has to have created a series of WordPress screencasts. And there were a couple. What I noticed immediately was they were already badly out of date. Hadn't been updated in more than a couple of years. And so they already weren't current. So I couldn't send my customers there. So I knew immediately that if I was going to create this series of videos, I was going to have to keep them up to date. Over the years, that's been another differentiator. The fact that we do update the videos with every release of WordPress. It's a real labor of love, and not a lot of people want to do that. Even if you are interested in creating a series of tutorial videos, man, you got to consider updating those 3-4 times a year. And that's a lot of work.
And you've made quite the investment in your home recording studio. It's it puts mine to shame. Let's just say that. So Jackie has an interesting question. She says, how has the growth of WordPress influenced the types of users that consume or use your plugin over the years? Has that changed?
It's a great question. So we are now serving more than one audience with our videos. As Jackie knows, I believe she uses our plugin as well. But so, we continue to serve the WordPress beginners. And obviously with the popularity of WordPress, there's a constant influx of people who need to learn how to use WordPress, whether it's because they want to build a blog for themselves, a custom website to start a business, or maybe they're tasked with the responsibility of managing a website that already exists for an organization. So I think the membership site continues to do well because we have a constant influx of beginners. And as WordPress grows, there's just a larger group of people for us to be able to serve in that way. What I didn't anticipate when I created that first set of videos was the creation of the plugin. So my friend Bill Erickson actually was the one who had the original idea for that and said, hey, this is great. I love the videos. I love sending my customers to you for training. But what I would really like is to have these videos directly in my client's dashboard. And so could you create a plugin that would do that? So collected some information, did a little research, hired Mark Jaquith to create the plugin for us. And so that product serves an entirely different market, really. So it's the same content, but it serves the developer, the freelancers, even to small agencies who are looking to free their time. So they're not having to spend their time, hand-holding the client, answering the same questions over and over again. So now we're freeing the time of freelancers and developers and designers and agencies so they can go do what they do best. So that's something that I never anticipated, but we're leveraging the same content to serve an entirely different market. And I love that.
Do you have an idea, or I'm sure you have an idea, what your split is between of all your user base, what percent is using the plugin versus the membership?
Yeah, the vast majority of our install base is obviously using the plugin, but I can tell you in terms of revenue split, the WP101.com membership site generates between 20 and 30% of our monthly revenue. The vast majority of our revenue comes from the plugin. And so that's being used all over the place. There's hundreds of developers, and for each, developer, designer, or agency who's using the plugin, they're obviously installing that on dozens, if not hundreds, of their clients' websites, right? So a lot of people are viewing them. We do get to track video plays over all the products. And so based on that, we know that we've had more than 1 million video plays. We know that the plugin is installed on over 500,000 websites, which is unreal. So,
wow, very cool. Yeah. So you're thanking Bill Erickson still today that he suggested the plugin?
Bill Erickson gets to use the plugin for life for free.
Well, here's an interesting question, because you do offer varying license levels, and one of them is for people that are doing client work, so they can install it on multiple client sites. The discussion has come up before on the show. When you're dealing with developer licenses, do you recommend that the client actually own or pay for a single-use license so that their account is maintained independently of the developer? Say the developer forgets to re-up or chooses not to re-up or whatnot. Do you have thoughts there?
I do. I've watched that conversation with some interest, and because of what we're doing. I think it's important that the client own most of the plugins that are running on their site. In the case of the tutorial plugin, the WP101 plugin, we are actually delivering that at what is a relatively no-brainer cost, I think. We've priced it so that a freelancer can easily afford this at $99 for an annual license, and you can install that on up to 100 client sites. So that's a lot more sites than what most freelancers are ever going to serve within the span of a given year. So it's really relatively easy then for those videos to continue to be up to date. What we do want to create is a single license that serves the customer whose developer has decided to change directions, and maybe they're no longer providing that service, those features, they're no longer wanting to support that subscription and have those videos available in the dashboard. So right now, if a developer cancels their subscription, then the videos stop appearing in the dashboard, and there's an invitation to the customer who's viewing that message to visit the website and create their own subscription. So it would make sense, I think, for us to create a single site license just for those applications, and that would further serve developers who believe fundamentally that the clients should own all the plugins and themes that are used on their website. I think I fall on that side of the argument there. I think it's a good idea for them to do that rather than being tied to the developer license that may or may not continue to be supported down the road.
Yeah, in the past, I've always just used my developer license for everything. And, you know, after doing this for quite a while, I am seeing the value of having the clients own that relationship so that it's independent of, you know, it's independent of me. Because ultimately, yeah, I don't want to be the roadblock to the client getting any sort of thing that they need going forward.
Yeah.
Wow, whatever that thought was, it left. Oh no, I know what I was going to say. Oh, and you have an affiliate program, which means that this is just the evil capitalist in me thinking out loud, but you can use, you know, have your clients use your affiliate link to buy. So then you're
yeah, I will say this. We are in the process of migrating our entire affiliate program from the antiquated system that we've been on for years to Pippin's affiliate WP, and we're excited about that. The team at Lifter LMS, which is the plugin that powers our website now, we just recently migrated to that plugin just a few months ago, and it's been a great migration. But they're actually creating right now, in fact, a custom integration so that Lifter LMS will work with affiliate WP. So we're going to be relaunching our affiliate program in probably just the next week or so. So yeah, we'll be sure to blast that out all the channels and invite folks who are interested in doing that to join our new affiliate program.
Awesome. I'm one of yours now. Jackie asked a question along the lines of what we've been talking about. If say that a developer or designer is offering ongoing like maintenance support package, and those videos are kind of included in that. If the client opts to not re-up, say next month, is there a way to deactivate that site remotely, like say from the WP101 account dashboard, or would they need to manually go into the client site and deactivate?
Yeah, right now it's manual. So we're kind of growing into this, right? And the more that developers are using the plugin, we're getting feedback and we're finding these situations. Exactly. There are a lot of, I think this is great. One of the best pieces of low-hanging fruit, I think, that a developer, a freelance developer or designer could do is to offer a maintenance plan. And you can offer, you know, videos like our videos as part of that ongoing maintenance plan. And it's an awesome feature set, you know, including backups or security monitoring and these kind of things. Just to have the peace of mind for a client to know somebody's watching out for my site, keeping up with the updates, because a lot of people are shy about hitting the update button, you know, and so you don't want to break your site. And so I think that for designers and developers to offer that type of a service makes perfect sense. And if you're not already doing it, you need to be offering, or at least consider doing that for some percentage of your client base. That said, we don't currently have the ability to remotely deactivate the plugin on a site if a customer stops paying you for that ongoing maintenance thing. So there's two ways to look at that. One is it's a value add. So if you just treat it as a value add, then obviously it's kind of a no-brainer to leave it running. But we are actively planning another big migration for the plugin itself. And as we do that, we're going to migrate more to a little bit of a SaaS platform that'll give you a proper dashboard where you can see the sites on which the plugin's been installed, remotely deactivate those. Doing so is requiring really a complete rewrite of the plugin and the underlying architecture. So we're trying to make sure we do this strategically, make sure it makes the best sense. But again, you know, we're building this thing to serve the developers and designers out there who are looking to provide this WordPress training. So it just makes sense, and that kind of feedback is what helps guide our roadmap for where we're going to go with this thing. So yes, we are planning to do that. It'll probably take us a few months to be able to do this fully and well.
Awesome. Well, everyone that's listening is probably going to hate me for saying this, but I do hope that you're going to consider raising your prices with that.
With that consistently, and I love it. I'd rather be on that side than the other, because at the end of the day, I just want to make sure that these videos are being put to work for as many people as possible. But I do recognize that there's a tremendous value, and I mentioned that earlier. I think it really is no-brainer pricing right now. That's fine, and it's a great way to get early traction. At this point, the plugin's been out for a few years. We're probably beyond getting early traction, so it is time to reconsider some of that. And along those same lines, we're also we just recently, about 3 weeks ago, in fact, released our new series on WooCommerce. So we have a new video course on WooCommerce. Prior to that, we released a series for the Yoast SEO plugin. We have other series planned. And as we release those new series, then obviously the value that we're providing is also increasing. There's going to be some developers who don't need all that. They don't want all the tutorials for their clients. So we want to be able to offer some options. So you're going to have some that want all the videos for all the clients. And we want to make sure that we're positioning the plugin to where it serves the greatest, size audience. So yeah, we're considering all those things now and where we go from here.
So for folks who are listening to the show who might be plugin developers, is there an opportunity then for them to partner with you to create training for their plugins that could be included as like you're doing with the WooCommerce?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I've spent a lot of time thinking about this because over the years, we released the first series in 2008. For the first several years, it was just WordPress 101, the same core set of initially 17 videos that grew to 20 videos, and it stayed at 20 videos until now. So it's a full-time job managing the business and, not only the client support and, business to business opportunities, people who want to use the plugin in different ways than what we have plans available for, licensing videos like we did recently with GoDaddy. So these types of things are taking more and more of my time. And so my hands are full just keeping our WordPress 101 videos up to date. So what I recognized is that if we're going to scale, the way to do that, initially my plan was just to continue cranking out these courses and these video series. But again, our brand is built on keeping them up to date as well. So a better way to scale that is to partner with other plugin creators, other even subject matter experts who can create their own courses. We can host them then on WP101 and put those videos to work for our different audiences in different ways. So that's actually the model that we use for the WooCommerce series. So we partnered with Daniel Espinoza, and I had the first conversation with Daniel about, would you be interested in doing a series for WooCommerce about 2 years ago? And so it's taken this long to kind of get all those things working and hammer out the kind of arrangement that would make sense for him. He's got his plate full as a freelancer. Obviously, he's working. He's got his own plugin, shop. So he's doing a lot. But at the same time, he's got a tremendous amount of expertise with WooCommerce specifically, and way more than I would. So I can't dive in and create a series on WooCommerce that is going to be as authoritative and complete as what Daniel could create. So it made sense for us to partner with Daniel. He created the scripts, kicked them back to me. I did the voiceovers. Then we sent it back to him to do screencast, the screen actions, record all that. And then back to us for editing. I created the course. So we're now able to use WP101's distribution channels as more of a platform, publishing platform to distribute content for other plugins and products. And so definitely that's the way that we're going to move forward. And it makes the best sense. So it's not only an opportunity for a guy like Daniel to generate some recurring revenue, which is a great model, but it also serves our core audience who are interested in learning WordPress. And then we're able to introduce them to all those killer plugins and products and features that they need to know about, things like Gravity Forms and Yoast SEO and some of these others. So yeah, we have a roadmap of those courses that we need to create that have been requested by our members over the years. But absolutely, we're interested in partnering with people who already have video content or are looking to create video content. Yeah.
Cool. So if you're listening to the show and you got a plugin, or it could be, I guess, any service that would require some form of training or education, then give Shawn a holler. I've got some more questions on deck for you, Shawn. But first, I'm going to pause for a commercial break and give a massive thanks to today's sponsor, web.com. Network Solutions Secure WordPress product. It's a security product that keeps your WordPress site all safe, updated, security scans, backups, malware cleanups, and on top of all the security features, they give you dedicated support, which, Shawn, dedicated support is really nice. So they are a fully managed WordPress host. If you want to check them out, you can do that at getnetsold.com/office hours. Now, back to our regularly scheduled program. So I want to camp out on this topic of scaling, and that's kind of where you are right now. I mean, you've grown your business tremendously over the years, and you're kind of at a crossroads point of wanting to do things, but not. I mean, you only have so many hours. So the first question I'll ask is related to what we were just talking about with having, like Daniel provide the content for the WooCommerce tutorials. Is it important for your brand that those videos literally be in your voice?
I don't think that it is. I don't think that it's critical that they all be in my voice. We chose to do that because I have the environment here to be able to record voiceovers. And so together we arrived at the decision for me to do the voiceovers. It wasn't a requirement. Ideally, I would love to take some of the, hard-learned lessons about production. I can teach that stuff, right? I'd love to be able to pass that on and help a developer or somebody who else could create the content, to learn how to do all that. So I'm happy to pass on that information. In this situation, it worked out better this way. And so it does offer a little bit of consistency, I think, particularly in the plugin. If you've got a client who's going through all the videos and suddenly it's a different voice, that may or may not be jarring for them. So it's not a requirement. I think as we move forward, we're going to have to let go of that. I'm not camped out on it being my voice for everything. It just happens to have been up until this point. The more things like that that have to come through me, I recognize are the bottlenecks for growth. So, I have to let go of as much of that as possible. And I'm not a control freak by any measure. So I'm perfectly fine letting those things go wherever it makes sense.
So where are some of your bottlenecks, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, as long as I'm the guy having to create all the videos, that's a problem. So, it's been interesting because as we talk about how to scale WP101, we have demand, and there's obviously different ways that we can continue serving different audiences. We've talked about scaling, first of all, more broadly by offering more content. If you're offering more tutorial videos, more courses, then obviously that's going to serve a larger market. That's one way to scale. The other is continuing to put the videos to work in different ways. So for example, when GoDaddy approached us over a year ago, actually, about putting our videos in the dashboard for their customers, that made sense. It's a great partnership. We serve a very similar audience, the small business, the web beginner, somebody who's creating their first web presence in some cases. So it makes sense then to offer that type of training to their customers. And so that's been a tremendous partnership. And effective, and there's good engagement. The customers are enjoying going there. There's a measurable impact on their support load that's decreased because of having these videos in the dashboard. So that's a cool way to scale. So that's a kind of a second way to scale. One we haven't even talked about yet is other languages. We made the commitment about a year ago to closed caption all of our videos. So step one was closed captioning all of our videos to make those available to a largest market as possible. So we've done that. Now that they're closed caption, it's not really difficult then to take all that translated into Spanish, Italian, and other languages. But ideally, you'd rather have videos that are fully localized, right? Like an Italian video with an Italian dashboard, and everything is in that language. And so that takes a lot more work, a lot more planning. And so we're exploring some ways to do that. All these things they're great ways to scale, and we could do them all. And I've been kind of juggling all of that, kind of wearing all the hats, while also managing, the WP101 plugin development roadmap. What are we going to do with that? What are the features? And then hiring developers to come in and work on that and scaling. So yeah, at the end of the day, the biggest bottleneck is creating the content. That's the thing. Those are the things that I can't do. Every video that comes out, I just can't do that unless I just sit down and every day, all day, I just crank out videos. There's other things right now that I'd rather be spending my time on. So it makes better sense to scale in this way. But yeah, when you have the conversation about hiring employee number one, how do you go from 0 to 1? And I've talked with Corey Miller and some other guys getting their advice about this, because I think that's probably the hardest jump. I think getting from 1 to 3 employees is probably an easier, more repeatable formula, but going from 0 to 1 is is huge. And I'm not yet at a place where I can really commit to bringing on employee number one. So what I'm doing is partnering with developers to come in and do key work on the plugin, with content creators to create videos. And this is, for me, a better way to scale.
Do you enjoy the business aspect of it?
I love it. I do really enjoy working on the business. So earlier we talked about the left brain, right brain. To me, getting in the trenches and actually creating the videos is great fun. That's a very right brain kind of task. And it's a lot of creativity that goes into that. I enjoy that. I still do. But I equally enjoy working on the business. And here's an interesting thing that I kind of uncovered toward the tail end of my freelance design career, was realizing, like I alluded to earlier, really getting into the trenches and helping a small business owner articulate why they are in business and how they can connect with their audience in a better way. That was the thing I got most passionate about. Toward the end, it was actually a little deflating to go into a great meeting with the client, and I'm having a great time learning about their business, and I'm excited about the people. I'm recommending resources and asking them questions that they maybe haven't been asked before. And this is great fun. And then I had to go back to my office and sit down and actually create the logo, the brochure, the website, and all these materials. That's the part that ended up becoming a little less exciting for me. And so in a similar way, I still enjoy video production, but I'm enjoying far more interacting with people and having the conversations that matter, right? Like actually talking to people and talking about how we can make their lives better and teach them how to do something really cool. And that hasn't gone away. It's the common thread between all the things that I'm doing, is I really am about helping people. And if there's one kind of drawback, I think, to online training, and you can comment on this as well, it's that to some extent what exists today in video courses is that we're cranking out, a video course, and you put out your videos and somebody signs up and they go through your course, but it's kind of like, here's the videos, good luck to you, and that's only marginally effective. I think it's far more effective to actually engage with people throughout the courses. And that's the one thing that's been missing over the years, for me personally, has been missing from WP101 is the interaction, because we have people signing up every day, going through the course, and then I don't know if it's really effective. Are you really getting out of it what you came for? And so we have, some emails and things we can send out. But if people don't take time to interact, then you're really lacking that feedback, if that makes sense.
Do you have a vision for putting any, other than emails or I guess what I would call more manual feedback, of putting into place some of those interactive components to get feedback along the way?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is one of the major reasons why we made the migration to Lifter LMS. One of their killer features is it's called engagements. And engagements can be as simple as somebody earning a badge or a certificate when they've completed a course. But they also have the ability to create email engagements as a student goes through the course. And you can fire off these emails after particular lessons, or after they've completed a section of lessons, or when they've completed a whole course. And you don't have to rely on third-party plugins and integrations, which I was really not wanting to do. I know you can do similar things with Infusionsoft and some other big tools. Lifter LMS had it built in. And they had this emphasis on restoring or bringing back the human touch to online learning. And man, that just resonated with me in a big way. So that was a major reason for migrating to Lifter. So now, for example, we have a video in the WP101 series about permalinks. That's a complicated topic, especially for a beginner. And you can easily do some damage to your site if you're not careful. So it makes sense then to have an engagement, an email that goes out to that person and says, hey, Carrie, I saw you just watched that video on permalinks. That can be really confusing. Do you have any questions about that? And lo and behold, people are responding to that. Now I get to have that kind of interaction again that was missing before. So yeah, we're continuing to leverage those kinds of tools. On the membership site, I would love to explore more about how we can deliver that type of experience within the plugin. But that'll take a lot more strategic approach, just given the footprint. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, that's certainly a differentiator in the online or e-learning space, because it's hard to do. And it takes a lot of additional manpower. So you've got whatever time investment you made in course creation to now you're going back and interacting on an individual level with each of these unique questions, which I guess over time would form better content or more comprehensive content, but definitely a time investment up front, but a very cool one.
Well, and as a course creator, I think that feedback is invaluable, because now when I'm getting questions or the same question over and over again, then it becomes clear to me that I didn't cover that well enough. So now in the next version, I can go back and revisit that and make it even more effective. So I think it's invaluable. And of course you can use, plugins and create, forums. We have a forum, a member only Q&A forum where people can post their WordPress questions, and that's fairly active. But what I've found is it's far more effective to send off timely emails based on their, interaction with or engagement with your course, and kind of put that human element back into it. So I'm personally really enjoying that, because I feel like for the first time in, almost 8 years since we launched the first site, I'm getting a better feel for how students are doing, how are they moving through the courses. Lifter also provides some analytics on which lessons are completed, how much of a course are they completing before they abandon. And that data helps us to continually tighten up the course and make it more effective for people. So.
Todd asked if you could say again, what was that human touch email tool? Was that Infusionsoft or?
No, what I'm talking about is really a feature of Lifter LMS. And
okay, it's just built into the plugin that you can.
The plugin itself, exactly.
Okay.
So Lifter LMS is the name of the plugin that powers our learning management system. It does a lot more things than what we're doing. We're really just using it to deliver online courses. But obviously, as a full-blown LMS, they've got quiz features and functionality and all kinds of really cool things. But the team has been amazingly responsive. Great group of guys that are working on that product. And anytime we've run into issues, I'm opening up support tickets on GitHub or whatever it is, and they're really responsive to jump on that. They're doing almost a weekly push now for new versions. And as they do, they're squashing bugs left and right and adding new features and functionality. So I couldn't be more happy about that plugin. So I highly recommend it if you couldn't tell.
I wasn't sure if you really liked it or not. We've got a couple of comments here. Joe requests a British English version of the videos. If you could please speak that in her accent. Funny, this is just a total side, but I had Troy on the show quite a while back, and they had put out a product, and they did one that was an Australian voice, and then they had one that they, in various markets, and then they had in the U.S. market, they had an American speaking. I don't remember what variety of accent it was. I'm sure it wasn't a Texas drawl, but anyhow, he said that they had a lot of the Americans requesting the Australian, the course in the Australian accent. I'm like, well, yeah.
We're enamored by the accent, aren't we?
I tell you what, yeah,
Troy's got those great pipes. I mean, he's got a background in voiceover and music, and Troy's been a good friend over the years. And so I tease him about his Australian accent, and it's just so drop dead sexy. It's ridiculous. So I think it's important to have, not just the translations we're talking about, but also in other dialects, because at the end of the day, we really want these videos to be as effective as possible. And that means hearing them in whatever dialect or language that you're wanting to hear them in, or you're used to hearing them in. So yeah, it makes sense. There are some logistical challenges as we get into that, making sure that the audio stays synced with what's happening on screen. These are things that I kind of obsess over. So if we can tackle good ways to do that, then it makes sense. It is a little more complicated than just having a voiceover read, in a different accent and then throwing that into the video. So yeah, we're trying to make sure we do it well.
Well, Todd comments that you have a very nice voice for voiceovers. So apparently you, sir, with your Houston accent, are drop dead sexy.
Well, I think Todd.
Let's see. Tara has a question. She says, have you interacted with the WordPress core training team? They're working on lesson plans to help others teach WordPress to beginners. Funny enough, I think WordPress San Francisco, maybe 2014, on contributor day, I was meeting with the docs team to see if we could get something like that rolling. And I guess it's still in progress, but any conversations you've had officially there?
Yeah, actually, I participated this past year pretty heavily in the new user group, the NUX group. And that was specifically about what types of, areas of friction are there when you're onboarding new users and beginners? And so that's obviously something that's square in my wheelhouse. And we have those interactions and those questions with beginners every day. So I enjoyed being able to provide that feedback and kind of make some recommendations on what we could do to improve the onboarding experience for WordPress beginners. So yeah, I'm interested in continuing that. That group got a little bit tabled for the time being. So I'm hoping we can pick back up where we left off, because there was a lot of incredible work done by a large group of people that participated in that project. So yeah, I'm interested in doing that. Specifically with docs, I have not participated, not opposed to it, but right now we're just head down, trying to focus more about, continuing to refine the videos themselves and expand those and get them into as many people's hands as possible. So if we can do that in a way that makes sense with the docs team, then that'd be great. Well,
and it's not like y'all aren't already involved with the WordPress community heavily. You show up at so many WordCamps and sponsor WordCamps. You guys are a huge asset in the WordPress community.
Thanks for that.
I will, just as a complete sidebar, I used to have, you mentioned earlier your kind of hashtag never stop learning.
Yeah.
I used to have the WP101 t-shirt that said that. I started working out. I got these huge biceps. Now my shirt doesn't fit.
I know where you're going.
I might need a new one. And I might not have worked out. I might just have eaten too many hamburgers. But
either way, new shirts are in order. I hear you loud and clear.
Let me know where I can pick up some swag.
Absolutely, yeah.
Devendra has a question on your marketing challenges and efforts to spread the reach of 101. And we've talked kind of about that in terms of your reach, but maybe even going back to the earlier days. So looking over the past 8 years of WP 101, where did you start in terms of marketing and kind of trying to get the word out, and how has that evolved over time?
Yeah, that's a great question. When I first started, because I was originally, to use the cliche, scratching my own itch, I really wasn't concerned too much about marketing and promoting it to a larger group. As people found out about it and were sending their customers our way, it kind of had a measure of growth. And so after the first year, it was generating maybe $800, $1,000 worth of revenue in a month. So it was square in the category of being a side project. About a year or two into it, we decided to take off the membership part and actually charge or allow people to pay whatever they wanted to. So we did pay what you wish. And then we donated 50% of whatever you plugged in to a cause that was near and dear to us. My sister was diagnosed with breast cancer, so we were donating toward breast cancer research, and more specifically to actually making donations to families who were actively going through treatments and things like that. So we were able to make a real difference in that. So that was our second model. But when I really decided about 2.5 years into it to start promoting it heavily, I spent a ton of money. So we spent a lot of money on pay-per-click and doing Google AdWords and other more targeted pay-per-click advertising. And so I think in the first year we did that, we probably spent I think it was about $20,000 in pay-per-click advertising. And we knew, based on the number of people that came through, we're kind of doing the AdSense arbitrage, or AdWords arbitrage rather, we knew based on how many people came in, so the conversion rate. So it was kind of, making a little bit of money, but not much. But I was mainly doing it in the early days to try to get lots and lots of eyeballs. It worked, and we did that for about a year.
Were you able to at least make back what you spent on it?
Yeah, and then a little profit.
Okay.
But again, it still wasn't. It wasn't a big money maker, and because I didn't really set out to make, a killer product, I wasn't a product guy. I was still doing services, right? So I was serving my clients and doing design and all that. So, yeah, I wasn't really looking at this as a product that needed to stand on its own legs and start generating massive tons of revenue and all that kind of stuff. So, but what happened was kind of interesting. It began just organically getting picked up and talked about. And particularly when we started, when we continued to redo the videos with each new release, people were noticing this. We sponsored WordCamps. We still continue to sponsor WordCamps, and that fits in squarely with our model of never stop learning. And so as we did that, that got us, connected with beginners that we were serving. And so we only did pay-per-click advertising maybe for a couple of years. And then I kind of cautiously unplugged that stream to see what would happen and see if the site would just die. And lo and behold, it didn't. And so we since then have largely been growing organically. So I think there's a lot to be said for having a great quality product that it's clear you obsess over the details, particularly when you're talking about developers and agencies who are now presenting these videos to their customers. It's important that the quality of the video and the product, the solution that they're recommending represents their brand in as good a way as possible. And I think that's one thing that we do that helps to differentiate our videos. And so the more we focus on those things, the more people discover WP101 and continue to spread the word for us and send people our way. So these days we do a little bit of targeted advertising here and there, but for the most part, we're relying on organic traffic, and it's a wonderful life.
Living the dream, baby.
Living the dream.
Mike has a really good question. He says, how do you balance what courses or topics are being requested and keep things at that 101 level? Or does everything need to be at the 101 level? Everything does not need to be at the 101 level.
I think the course series, I think, does a great job of introducing people to the WordPress dashboard, all the built-in functions and features. There's still a lot more we can do to serve the 101, the true beginner. And one of the things we're finding, for example, what we've known for some time, if a developer designs a site, he's also handing over the site with a number of plugins that are already installed. These usually include Yoast SEO, Gravity Forms, sometimes now Jetpack. We're seeing that more and more often. So I think it makes sense for us to continue creating 101 content that supports those most popular plugins. What is the easiest way for a beginner, for example, to put a contact form on their website? Well, Jetpack has a great one built in that really doesn't get any easier than that. WP Forms that Syed and Jared just created recently. WP Forms, I think, is an amazing tool for beginners to create contact forms. It's super easy, walks them through a wizard. They answer a question, what type of form do you want? And then boom, there it is. Short code on your page and you've got your form. That's 101 style content that I think we can continue to create and need to. But obviously, I think there's a need for 201 content, 301, 401. And so we have plans to continue to grow. I just want to make sure that we're crystal clear about how we do that. We're not instantly throwing out a, how to create your own custom WordPress theme course on WP101, which right now would look, horribly out of place. At some point we'll probably end up doing other types of content like that. But for now, I think we've got a long way to go to cover the 101 and probably the 201, more intermediate level content as well. How to customize your child theme. People need to make minor changes to their themes. And these are the kind of things that I think we need to be answering.
Good stuff. Thank you, Mike, for that question. We got time for a couple more questions if you want to get them in. As a reminder for you guys that are tuning in, the ebook came out last week. If you haven't gotten your copy of that, check your inbox, or if you're not already subscribed, go over to officehours.fm/subscribe to our newsletter, and you'll get a free copy of that. And I don't mean to brag, but you're not going to be disappointed, is all I've got to say, especially when you don't pay anything for it. I mean, the bar is low to begin with. Random question, fun question from Joe. And actually, it's not random. You're a true cigar aficionado. I think you've probably been on the cover of the magazine a few times. But Joe asked, if you could be one cigar, what would it be?
If I could be a cigar, what would I be? Oh, come on, Joe. That's unreal. I haven't met a cigar I didn't like. So that's a tough question.
Would you be one that would you burn fast and hot or low and slow?
I think low and slow, man. I got to be a little more mild, a little more laid back. A cigar for the people. It would definitely be something of that. I don't necessarily enjoy Connecticut wrapped cigars, but I think if I was one, I might be a Connecticut wrapped cigar. So that's a great question, man. I'm gonna have to give that some thought. I know what I would not be. Chris Lima for my birthday last year sent me a gold wrapped cigar. This cigar is ridiculous. It actually is billed as the most expensive cigar in the world. And it was just ridiculously opulent. And it's actually covered in 24 karat gold leaf. Here's what's wild. That's not the wrapper. You actually smoke it that way. And because gold has a different melting point than the tobacco inside, the tobacco actually burns and you're left with this gold encrusted shell of a cigar. It was an amazing gift, just over the top. And I told Chris recently, I'm like, there's no way I'm ever going to smoke this cigar. I mean, thank you for the amazing gift, but how do you smoke a solid gold cigar? I mean, there's just no way to do that. So
that is awesome.
I don't think I would be the gold plated cigar.
You would not be the, yeah, it's not it's not quite your style, Houston. You're definitely a little more low key than that. Gold plated cigar. Who knew? Who knew that was
awesome?
Well, you got, my husband, of course, enjoys cigars, and he also sent us home with some lovely smokes to try from Cigar Camp. So thank you. Thank you for that.
Fun. Yeah.
All right. So let's see if we've got any more questions. I don't think I missed any, but if you got them, go ahead and get them in. In the meantime, Shawn, is there anything that I didn't ask you, but you would either like to share or some wisdom that you could impart to the listeners?
I always come back to just to remember why we do what we do. When I was freelance designing, I mentioned some of the things that I think differentiated the experience my clients had. But at the end of the day, it's the people that matter the most. And as long as you're doing what you're doing and you don't ever lose sight of the fact that you're in this to serve other people, we're in this to help them get from point A to point B, whatever that is. And so my approach is the same, whether it's WP101 or freelance design, whatever I'll be doing, 10 years from now, if not WP101. I hope that it continues to be that and just serving people, because at the end of the day, I think that's what matters. And I want to be able to help as many people as possible to uncover what they're passionate about, do the thing that most excites them, and then inspire them to go do that thing tomorrow. So just remember, it's always, always about the people.
And that's the quote of the episode right there. Well, thank you, Shawn. I appreciate you being on. Speaking of, I'm gonna turn this around and make it a segue, and it's a self-promoting segue because that's the way I roll. Serving the people. I've got something in the works, and I say that kind of just teasingly about self-promoting, but I do have something in the works, an office hours .fm community, and it's something that I'm just not quite ready to launch. I wanted to get it out in time for episode 100, but I've still got some work to do on it. But I really do envision a community where the podcast, the discussions can happen as an extension of the podcast or even separate from the podcast. But there's so many great, talented, cool people that listen to the show. And I know that with all the different experiences that we have, that a community like that, it would be valuable to me. So I'm hoping some people will come along and join me when I finally do get that out the gate. But yeah, so cool stuff. Stay tuned for that, office hours peeps. And with that, wow, Shawn, you pretty much put a bow on it. So I guess we'll call this a successful episode 101 with WP101.
Sounds great. Thanks, Carrie. It's been a blast.
Cheers. Cinco de Mayo.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.